Welcome, everyone, to Trending Echo. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into this whole very demure, very mindful trend that's
Yeah.
been kind of blowing up lately.
hmm
You know, you see the aesthetic everywhere online, but what's the deeper story? We're going beyond the buzzwords to look at where this movement came from, what's fueling it, and what it all might mean, using a mix of articles and social media chatter as our guide.
It's interesting. You know how this phrase, very demure, very mindful, originated from a single TikTok video?
Really?
Yeah, by a beauty influencer, Jules LeBron,
Okay.
back in August.
Wow.
And it's become a sort of cultural shorthand for this whole set of values and aspirations that seem to be resonating with a lot of people.
Right. And it's spreading like wildfire. So let's break down what people are actually talking about when they say very demure, very mindful. You know, it seems to be about understated elegance, making conscious choices about what we consume, how we spend our time, a thoughtfulness that extends beyond just how we dress or decorate.
Exactly. It's not just about aesthetics. If we look at the articles you've shared, they point to a connection between this trend and a growing awareness of things like sustainability, the importance of mental well-being,
Mm.
and a desire for deeper, more authentic connections in a world that often feels superficial.
Yeah, it's like a counter movement to the constant noise and pressure we experience, right? Like, you know, that feeling of being overwhelmed by stuff, by information overload, by having to be on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
This trend feels like a pushback against that frantic pace of life.
Absolutely. It's about simplifying, choosing quality over quantity, being more intentional with our time and energy.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is that while this feels very of the moment, it actually has roots in several different movements and philosophies.
Okay, let's unpack that.
Yeah.
The sources mention a few key drivers of this trend.
Uh-huh.
Let's start with minimalism. It seems like everyone's talking about less is more these days,
Mm-hmm.
from decluttering our homes to simplifying our wardrobes.
Minimalism is definitely having a resurgence. And I think Marie Kondo's work has played a huge role in that.
I think so too.
Her approach to tidying up isn't just about getting rid of stuff.
Right.
It's about being mindful of what we choose to keep in our lives
Mm,
and appreciating the things that spark joy.
right. And it's not just about physical possessions either.
No, not all.
There's a whole mental aspect to it,
Absolutely.
a focus on decluttering our minds as well.
Absolutely. And this is where the mindful aspect of the trend really comes into play.
Yeah.
It's about being present in the moment,
Mm,
paying attention to our thoughts and feelings without judgment, cultivating a sense of inner peace.
right.
We see this reflected in the growing popularity of things like meditation and mindfulness apps.
Speaking of mindfulness, I've noticed like a ton of yoga studios popping up everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like people are really looking for ways to manage stress and anxiety,
hmm
especially given how hectic life can be.
It's true. And while there have been previous waves of interest in mindfulness and meditation, what's interesting about this moment is the context.
Yeah.
You know, we're living in a hyper-connected world with constant digital stimulation.
Right.
This trend, in many ways, is a reaction to that digital overload.
Totally.
It's like people are craving a sense of stillness and disconnection.
It's like a digital detox for your whole life. And have you noticed how this idea of quiet quitting is gaining traction?
Yes.
It's not just about work anymore, but about stepping back and reevaluating our priorities in all areas of our lives.
That's a great point.
If you guys are enjoying this deep dive so far,
Mm-hmm.
hit that like button and subscribe to Trending Echo for more.
Quitting is a reflection of people setting boundaries and choosing to focus on what truly matters to them.
Yeah,
It's connected to this overall shift towards mindfulness and intentionality.
right.
And this isn't just an individual phenomenon, we're seeing it reflected in larger societal trends, like the focus on sustainability.
Oh, absolutely. It's like people are waking up to the impact of their choices on the planet
Yes.
and are actively seeking out more eco-friendly options.
Exactly. Consumers are becoming more conscious about where their clothes come from, how their food is produced, and the environmental impact of their purchases.
Right.
We're seeing a rise in popularity for brands like Patagonia and Everlane, which are known for their commitment to ethical and sustainable practices.
It's interesting how sustainability is often linked to quality as well.
Yes.
Buying fewer, better-made items that will last longer
Right.
ties back into that whole idea of less is more.
That's a great observation.
Yeah.
There's a definite connection between mindfulness, intentionality, and valuing quality over quantity. It's about making choices that are good for ourselves,
Yeah.
for our communities, and for the planet.
And it's fascinating to see how this trend is being shaped by various cultural narratives as well.
Hmm.
Think about the impact of shows like Tidying Up with Marie Kondo or books like The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F.
Oh, yeah.
They've helped popularize these ideas and make them more mainstream.
They've definitely played a role in normalizing these conversations.
Yeah.
They've made it more acceptable to question our consumption habits
Hmm.
and prioritize well-being over relentless productivity and acquisition.
Right,
But it's important to note that this goes beyond just a media trend.
right.
It reflects a real shift in values.
So we're seeing this move from a conceptual level to actual tangible changes in people's lives.
Yes.
How is this very demure, very mindful mindset manifesting in the real world?
Yeah.
Let's start with fashion, since that's where this whole trend really took off.
We're seeing a move away from flashy, logo-heavy trends
Mm-hmm.
towards a more understated elegance.
Oh,
Think neutral tones.
yeah.
Classic silhouettes, quality fabrics, clothes that are meant to last and be cherished rather than discarded after a season.
It's what some are calling the quiet luxury aesthetic, right?
Exactly.
Designers like Phoebe Philo,
Yeah.
who's known for her minimalist designs.
Yeah.
And brands like The Row, which focuses on luxurious basics, are great examples of this.
Exactly. They embody this idea of quiet confidence and timeless style.
Yeah,
It's not about ostentatious displays of wealth.
right.
It's about investing in pieces that reflect a certain level of discernment and thoughtfulness.
And this aesthetic is extending beyond just clothing.
Yes.
You're seeing it in interior design as well,
Yeah.
with a focus on creating serene, clutter-free spaces that promote a sense of calm and well-being.
Yes. Think about those airy minimalist homes you see on Instagram with lots of natural light, muted color palettes, and natural materials.
Right.
It's all about creating a sanctuary from the chaos of the outside world.
The Japandi style, which blends Japanese minimalism with Scandinavian functionality and warmth, seems to be a perfect example of this.
Absolutely. It combines the clean lines and simplicity of Japanese design with the cozy higge elements of Scandinavian aesthetics.
But here's where things get interesting.
Yeah.
This whole trend that's all about being mindful and present is blowing up on social media, a space that's often blamed for creating FOMO and encouraging comparison and overconsumption.
It's a bit ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it also shows how these platforms can be used to promote different values.
Right.
Influencers like Jules LeBron, who initially sparked this trend, are using their platforms to showcase quiet luxury, mindfulness, and intentional living.
Right.
It's like they're reclaiming these spaces and using them to inspire a different kind of lifestyle.
It's a really interesting development. It shows that social media isn't inherently good or bad. It's how we choose to use it.
Exactly.
So beyond the aesthetics and the material aspects,
Yeah.
how are people's behaviors actually changing as a result of this trend?
We're seeing a rise in practices like meditation, yoga, and journaling.
Okay.
People are taking time for self-care, prioritizing their mental health, and seeking ways to disconnect from the constant digital stimulation.
It's like people are recognizing the importance of slowing down
Yes.
and tuning into their inner selves, right?
Right. Exactly. And this shift is also showing up in how people approach travel.
Oh, tell me more about that.
People are moving away from those packed, tourist-heavy vacations and opting for slower, more immersive experiences.
Okay.
They're choosing destinations that allow them to connect with nature, experience different cultures,
Yeah.
and engage in activities that promote relaxation and mindfulness.
Right.
Ecotourism is becoming increasingly popular, and there's a growing emphasis on sustainable travel practices.
It's about appreciating the journey, not just rushing from one Instagrammable spot to the next.
Precisely. It's about being present in the moment and savoring experiences. And I think that's what this whole very demure, very mindful trend is all about.
Yeah.
A shift in focus from external validation to internal fulfillment.
This has been so insightful.
Good.
We're seeing this trend ripple out across so many different aspects of life, fashion, interior design, travel, even how we approach our work and well-being. But does it really matter?
That's a good question.
I mean, is it just a fleeting trend, or could it have a lasting impact?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the answer is complex.
Right.
There's always the potential for any trend to be co-opted by consumerism.
Yeah.
We've already seen brands jump on the bandwagon, marketing mindfulness products and experiences that may or may not be authentic.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a risk of it becoming Just another way to sell us things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you want to live a more mindful life? Well, that'll be $500 for this organic cotton meditation cushion.
Exactly.
Right.
So there's definitely a need for critical thinking and discernment.
Yeah.
But I think it's too simplistic to dismiss this entire trend as just another marketing ploy.
Right.
There's a genuine desire for change here, a yearning for something more meaningful and sustainable.
Yeah.
People are tired of the constant pressure to consume,
Right.
to achieve, to be on all the time.
So maybe this trend represents a shift in consciousness, a growing awareness of the interconnectedness of our choices and their impact on ourselves, each other, and the planet.
I believe so. It's about recognizing that we're not just individual consumers,
Yeah.
but part of a larger ecosystem,
Right.
and that our choices, both big and small, have consequences.
It's a powerful idea for sure, but let's be real.
Yeah.
This trend isn't without its critics and challenges.
You're right. One of the biggest criticisms is the issue of accessibility.
Okay.
For instance, the quiet luxury aesthetic, while beautiful and aspirational, often comes with a hefty price tag.
Yeah, like those $1,000 cashmere sweaters.
Exactly.
They can feel a bit exclusive,
Yeah.
out of reach for many.
Exactly. And that raises concerns about elitism and the potential for this trend to exacerbate existing inequalities.
And then there's the whole commercialization aspect we talked about earlier.
Mhm.
Brands are savvy. They know how to capitalize on trends.
Absolutely. So the question becomes,
Yeah.
are these companies genuinely committed to these values?
Right.
Right.
Or are they just using them as marketing buzzwords to sell us more stuff?
Right. There's a fine line between genuine intention and greenwashing,
Yes.
which is basically when companies make misleading claims about their environmental or ethical practices.
Greenwashing is a real problem, and it makes it even harder for consumers to make informed choices.
So how do we navigate this complex landscape? How do we distinguish between authentic efforts and clever marketing?
It takes critical thinking, research, and a healthy dose of skepticism. We need to look beyond the marketing claims,
Right.
investigate the companies we're supporting,
Yeah.
and be mindful of our own consumption habits.
So we need to be conscious consumers, ask questions, and hold companies accountable.
Exactly. And we need to be mindful of the potential for this trend to become just another form of exclusionary consumerism.
Yeah.
We need to work towards making these values and practices accessible to everyone,
Right.
regardless of their income or background.
That's a really important point.
Sustainability and mindfulness shouldn't be luxury items.
No.
They should be accessible to all.
I completely agree, and that's something we need to keep in mind as this trend continues to evolve.
This has been such a fascinating conversation. It's clear that this very demure, very mindful trend is more than just a passing fad.
Mm-hmm.
It reflects a deeper shift in values and a desire for a more intentional and sustainable way of life.
It's an invitation to slow down, simplify, and reconnect with what truly matters.
And it's a reminder that our choices, both big and small, have an impact.
Absolutely. It's a call to action to be more mindful consumers, to support businesses that align with our values, and to create a world that is more just and sustainable for everyone.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'd like to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the very demure, very mindful trend.
Yes.
We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
Thank you for listening.
And we'll be back with more next time, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it.
Yes, please do.
See you next time.
Bye. It's been a really fascinating exploration of this trend. It really highlights the interconnectedness of our choices and how they ripple outwards.
I totally agree. And it's not about being perfect or adopting some rigid set of rules.
Right.
It's about finding what resonates with you
Mm-hmm.
and incorporating these values into your own life in a way that feels authentic.
Precisely. It's a journey of self-discovery,
Yeah.
and it's about progress, not perfection.
Earlier, we talked about how this trend might be a response to the overwhelming presence of technology in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to delve a bit deeper into that. What are your thoughts on how technology is shaping this movement?
Well, we're constantly bombarded with information, notifications, and demands on our attention. Our devices are designed to keep us engaged, often to the detriment of our well-being.
Right.
It's no wonder that people are craving a sense of peace, quiet, and disconnection.
It's like we're all experiencing a collective case of digital fatigue. And I think this ties in with the whole quiet quitting phenomenon we mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
People are starting to push back against the always-on culture
Yes.
and are prioritizing their mental and emotional health.
It's about reclaiming our time and attention.
Yeah.
choosing to focus on what truly nourishes us.
Right. And it's not just about work-life balance.
hmm
It's about finding a sense of balance in all areas of our lives.
Absolutely. It's about being more present in our daily lives,
Yeah.
savoring experiences and cultivating gratitude for the simple things.
I love it. It's about shifting our focus from what we lack to what we already have.
Exactly. And that's a powerful shift in perspective.
So for someone listening to this who's intrigued by this trend,
hmm
but feeling a bit overwhelmed,
Yeah.
where would you suggest they start?
Start small.
Okay.
Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight.
Right.
Pick one area where you'd like to be more mindful and intentional.
Hmm.
Maybe it's decluttering your wardrobe, establishing a digital detox routine, or incorporating a few minutes of meditation into your day.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Small, sustainable changes are key.
Yes.
And it's important to remember that mindfulness isn't about being perfect.
Right. It's about being present,
Mm,
acknowledging your thoughts and feelings without judgment,
right.
and approaching life with a sense of curiosity and compassion.
It's about being kind to yourself throughout the process.
Exactly. It's a journey, not a destination. There
Mhm.
will be times when you feel overwhelmed or discouraged, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Just keep coming back to your intention and focusing on the small steps you can take each day.
This has been such an inspiring conversation. I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on this trend and how to incorporate these values into my own life.
I'm so glad to hear that. It's something I'm very passionate about.
Before we wrap up,
hmm
are there any final thoughts or insights you'd like to share with our listeners?
I would encourage everyone to be curious. Explore what resonates with you and find your own unique way of incorporating these values into your life.
Mm.
Trust your intuition and don't be afraid to experiment. Yeah. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
As we've been talking about this very demure, very mindful trend, I've realized that it goes beyond just aesthetics or lifestyle choices.
Yes.
It seems to represent a deeper yearning for something more meaningful and fulfilling than what our consumerist culture often offers.
I agree. It's about reclaiming our time, attention, and values,
Yeah.
and creating a world that is more sustainable, equitable, and compassionate.
Like a beautiful vision.
It is. And I believe that this trend, that despite its potential pitfalls,
Mm.
offers a glimmer of hope for a more balanced and intentional future.
It suggests that people are waking up to the limitations of our current systems
Mhm.
and are seeking out alternative ways of being in the world.
Precisely. And it's not just about individual change.
Right.
It's about systemic change. We need to challenge the structures that perpetuate harmful patterns of consumption and exploitation.
So it's not enough to buy a sustainably made sweater or meditate for a few minutes each day.
Right.
We need to use our voices and actions to advocate for policies that promote social justice, environmental protection, and economic equity.
Absolutely. We need to engage in conscious consumerism,
Mm-hmm.
support businesses that align with our values,
Right.
and vote for leaders who prioritize the well-being of people and the planet.
It's about taking action both individually and collectively to create the kind of world we want to live in.
Exactly. And it starts with awareness,
Yeah.
with recognizing the interconnectedness of our choices and their impact on ourselves, each other, and the planet.
Maybe this very demure, very mindful trend signifies a deeper shift in consciousness. It's not just about what we wear or how we decorate our homes.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we're all part of something bigger than ourselves.
I think you're right. It's about cultivating a sense of reverence for life,
Mm.
for the planet, and for each other.
Maybe, just maybe, it's a sign that we're finally starting to wake up to that reality.
I sincerely hope so, because I believe that's the only way we're going to create a truly sustainable and thriving future for everyone.
This has been such an incredibly thought-provoking conversation.
Yeah.
It feels like we've only just scratched the surface of this trend and all of its implications.
It's a topic that could be explored for hours.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we're out of time for today.
I know. I wish we could keep going.
Yeah.
But I want to thank all of our amazing listeners for joining us on this deep dive into the very demure, very mindful trend. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
And remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation.
Right.
Continue exploring this topic, challenge your assumptions, and discover your own unique way of incorporating these values into your life.
Be sure to follow Trending Echo for more deep dives on fascinating topics like this one. We're always searching for the latest trends and cultural phenomena, and we love sharing our insights with you.
So until next time, stay curious, stay mindful, and keep on trending.
And be sure to like this episode and subscribe to Trending Echo for more.
Yes, please do.
It's amazing to think about how this Seemingly simple phrase, very demure, very mindful, has sparked such a wide-ranging conversation.
Yeah, it speaks to a real hunger for change,
Hmm.
a desire for something more than the relentless cycle of consumption and achievement that often defines our modern lives.
We've explored so many different facets of this trend today, from minimalism and sustainability to the rise of quiet luxury and the importance of mental well-being.
And what's fascinating is how these threads all weave together to paint a picture of a society that's yearning for a more balanced, intentional, and meaningful way of life.
It's about shifting our focus from external validation to internal fulfillment, from material possessions to experiences and connections.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that true wealth lies in cultivating a rich inner life,
Hmm.
nurturing meaningful relationships, and living in harmony with ourselves and the planet.
This trend is prompting a reevaluation of our values and priorities, and it's encouraging us to ask ourselves some big questions.
Questions like, what truly matters to me?
Yeah.
What kind of world do I want to live in? And how can I use my choices and actions to make a positive impact?
Those are powerful questions, and they invite us to step into a more conscious and intentional way of being.
And that's where the real power of this trend lies.
Yeah.
It's not just about adopting a certain aesthetic or buying specific products.
Right.
It's about a fundamental shift in consciousness.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I'd love to hear your final thoughts on where you see this trend heading. What are your hopes for the future of this movement?
My hope is that this trend will continue to evolve beyond a niche movement
Hmm.
and inspire widespread change.
Okay.
I believe that it has the potential to transform our relationship with ourselves, each other, and the planet.
I share that hope, and I think it's up to each of us to play a part in shaping that future.
Absolutely. We can start by making small changes in our own lives. And by supporting businesses and organizations that align with these values, we can use our voices to advocate for policies that promote sustainability, social justice, and well-being. And most importantly, we can continue to have these conversations and inspire others to join the movement towards a more demure and mindful world.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. This has been an incredibly enriching conversation, and I know our listeners will appreciate your thoughtful perspectives.
It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
And thank you to all of our wonderful listeners for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful, inspiring, and perhaps even a little bit challenging. We encourage you to continue exploring these ideas and to find your own unique way of incorporating them into your life.
And be sure to follow Trending Echo for more deep dives on fascinating topics like this one.
We're always on the lookout for the latest trends and cultural phenomena, and we love sharing our insights with you. So until next time, stay curious, stay mindful, and keep on trending.